We're working on this. Wow. Okay. Too much. Okay. We're live. Cedar City, Utah. Okay. So we are doing Jupiter, the second part today, which is super exciting. Megan is a little under the weather today, so I'm going to do the introduction. So we are the Academy of Logic and Light. We are an educational platform, peer-to-peer platform that allows people to learn the esoteric topics and anything spiritual and witchy without indoctrination. And so all three of us are a little tired, I think, today, or I know I am. We had our little Samhain retreat this last weekend, which was so fun. It was so good to see you, Elle.
I know, it's good seeing you. And the food was amazing, you guys. And the food, you weren't there. You were there, you know.
Thank you. It was fun. So our next event is November 19th. It's a New Moon Circle, and we'll have more information about that. And it'll be on our Facebook, and I'm sure on our Instagram as well. So without further ado, I'm going to play the intro. Yay! I did it.
Jupiter part 2.
Part 2 of Jupiter. Let's see. There we are. Okay, so also if you are joining us live, we cannot see your names if you're watching from Facebook. So write your name, where you're watching from. We'd love to catch up and see who's watching. And also grab your charts from astro.com and get all of your questions ready. Without further ado, Jupiter, the planet of good luck, optimistic success, and generosity. Jupiter brings joy to life, has always been identified with the idea of expansiveness and abundance. As we know, we're going into the houses and the aspects today. All right, I'm going to mute myself so it won't be so loud, but I'll chime in where it is.
Perfect. All right, so Jupiter, we went through the signs, like where it kind of shows up. Again, Jupiter is an outer planet, so it's not so much based on your personality as it is the events in your life. So going through the signs, it kind of tells where it shows up. But the houses are really where it shows up and shows you the direction or where you're going to benefit the most, depending on which house your Jupiter is in. We've gone through the houses every week, so everyone knows or should start to see the theme that the houses always hold their same energy. They don't shift. It's just the planets that are in the houses change the energy. That's the only thing that changes. The houses are always going to stay the same. The house is always, first house is Aries, second house Taurus. It goes in the same order as the signs go as well. So just in case you're, a little fun, just reminder. So Jupiter in the first house. Again, first house, Aries ruled. This is a Mars, fiery, energetic area. So when you have Jupiter in your first house, you find yourself to be very lucky in personal things, such as your capability of being consistent for like working out, having a fit body, mentally taking care of your brain, having a healthy brain. These are kind of just areas where Jupiter magnifies and, it's expansion. So it makes everything in this house expansive. So when you have like a really good placement with Jupiter in the first house, you literally just have I would say a really good self-care routine. Your luck within yourself in the area of yourself is very good. You also are probably very active naturally. Some people are sleepy, so this isn't really the placement for that. So that's good because you have a lot of energy, you're energetic, and you're able to get a lot of things done, which, these people tend to not be procrastinators. And so that in itself is like relieving of the mind, because when you procrastinate, then you're stressed, and then so it's a lucky placement to have your Jupiter in the first house, because yourself and who you are is very taken care of, well-rounded, whether it be physical, mental, or most likely both. So, but with that comes the fact that you could be self-indulgent. You take so much care of yourself that it could be obsessive almost. So just make sure that you're not, killing yourself trying to be perfect or have the perfect body or the perfect, image, because that's really not obtainable. But I mean, I like when I see Jupiter in the first house. I think it's a good one.
Yeah, I'm looking through everyone's charts right now. So far, I only see my brother with a Jupiter in the first house, which makes
Is he fit?
sense. Is he what?
Is he fit? Is he like a like
I wouldn't describe him that way.
huh?
I wouldn't describe that would be like the first word I'd use, but like he's in shape, I guess.
Yeah.
He's not fat.
Yeah. Very These people are more lean and more muscle than fat. Kind of.
Yeah, I was like, fit's not a word I would ever
Yeah,
say.
that's my brother. That's gross.
What's your Jupiter in? If you want to share.
Oh no, mine's in the second.
Oh, nice. Okay, well, that's a good transition.
Yeah, mine's Aquarius in the second house. So how I collect possessions and make money is very simple and different. But it comes to me. I mean, we've all known that I've done really weird shit in my life to make money. So I'm just like, that explains the Aquarius in the second house. It's very, possessions come to you very easily. You're very fortunate with, um, landing really good jobs is one of the placements for this, and consistency. Like, I've had jobs that I've been at for 10 years, which I'm not doing. Especially from my other areas of my chart that I'm like, I'm pretty flighty, light, like, you know. So when you have Jupiter in the second house, this also makes you an honest person. You really do thrive, and um, you have the capability of knowing and understanding that being honest with people, like, it's better to be honest and just deal with like the consequences then versus like continue to cover things up. This puts this person in a very comfortable position to be like, hey, I fucked up. Here's what I did. I'm sorry. They're not too like worried if this person ever talks to them again because they kind of had this inner um, understanding of self, and they don't really worry about, losing people or losing things. Because, Taurus energy, second house energy can be very possessive. And with Jupiter in this house, it kind of lightens that a little bit because Jupiter is like a lighter um, energy planet. It's positive, it's very happy. So it's kind of takes away that stress of like, I'm going to lose everything or whatever. That's not really the case here. So I really appreciate my Jupiter in the second house. I think it's brought me a lot of luck. I've, purchased homes in my life. I've built homes in my life. I feel like all that comes from my Jupiter being in a really good placement of possessions because I'm able to do that because I get lucky. I know some people that are my age that, they don't care to. It's not like a big deal for them. It's kind of a big deal for me, but they're like, oh, I've never owned a home or I've never whatever, and they do not care at all. I'm like, I care. I want to build and I want to own. But people are like, no, I have a friend. She's a Virgo, ironically. She does not want to own anything. She's like, I want to rent a car. I want to rent an apartment or a condo. She has no interest at all in owning anything. So it's a perspective of like, just a personal preference. But for me, Jupiter in the second house has really created possessions for me in a really positive way.
That's so interesting. I'm looking at my husband's charts at the same time. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Second house in Scorpio.
Mm. Who is that?
One of my friends in Texas.
Oh. Does she like possessions or do you possessions?
Does she like possessions? I would say like not. It doesn't appear that way, but I think it's collected in a different manner that's not so visible.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Third.
All right, third house. This one gives you the expansion of communication and a very positive outlook in life. So when your Jupiter's in the third house, this kind of makes you like very capable of public speaking, very comfortable with it. You don't mind having a crowd, and your words also are very enduring and very captivating in a way that um, public speakers or life coaches, things like that. This is one of those placements. They've had so many good experiences, and this is such a positive placement that they really can like share that. And also, like, if they do go through like a lot of trauma or a lot of things, they're able to pull their like themselves out of that mindset because they have such a positive placement. It doesn't stay they don't stay in the glooms. They don't, this really brings like a different energy of just optimism. And sometimes they can get into trouble because they can be too curious and really go out there and just like maybe dig too deep into something. But typically, yeah, just a good placement to have your Jupiter in the third house. Makes you very optimistic, and luck comes your way definitely through communications and social gatherings and just fun events. So, but they can be restless, impractical, and reckless because third house Gemini energy is reckless. Fourth house. So this one is an area where if you have Jupiter in the fourth house, a lot of times, we know we've kind of touched on the fourth house on this before. It wasn't so much Jupiter, but other things. You have this very, like, most likely some luck into inheriting things. Like, it could be big things, it could be little things, but inheritance is a big factor when you have Jupiter in the fourth house. Also, your life and the kind of family that you're placed into with this placement most likely is a very loving and kind and just very beneficial family. Like, through your upbringing, it can not push you, it can direct your life in a way where you want a family because you had such a positive influence, in your younger years. So, not a lot of dysfunctional family things here for you. I'm not saying that your family's not dysfunctional because obviously their Jupiters are in different houses and their whole chart could be a mess. But typically, this is someone who enjoys their family. The family life is really good, and it does bring luck. Just being, having their family is lucky because it's typically a pretty good one. What's your Jupiter in?
The fourth house.
Fourth house. Would you say that you're pretty lucky with your family? Like your parents, like,
They're really nice people. They're
yeah.
really nice. I'm trying to hold them having birds not against them. That doesn't.
Those fucking birds.
I'm trying not to hold that part against them, but they're very, very nice people. Very
Yeah.
kind, very loving. Yes.
Yeah, I love that. That's just the kind of energy. I'm not saying that they're not dysfunctional in their own way, but it's not like it's not
Where's
so
parents in a chart?
yeah. So yeah, it's material success. It's just I feel like that when you inheritance is something that it comes easily for this placement, and so I think that's just the material. Not that you can't make money on your own, you definitely do, but it's just kind of one of those things that kind of puts you ahead a lot of times. So,
Yeah.
um,
I'm wondering about that one because I'm like, I don't even know where an inheritance would come from.
yeah, something may surprise you. Might be some random guy you meet that's like, I have no one here. Here's my will.
Yeah,
I've seen that
manifest
happen before.
that.
I've seen it. I'm like, how did you get in this man's will? And my friend's just like, he was dying and he didn't have anyone. I'm like, and I was nice to him. I'm like, you need to be nice to people. That's great.
Yeah. So I have to stop picking fights with people in bars.
Those guys you're probably safe with them. I'm saying, like, maybe just like the random stranger in the airport or on the plane. That's a good one. Because if they're flying, they probably, they might have some things.
Yep, that's fair.
Boys at the bar. All right, Jupiter in the fifth house. This is fun. This is like somebody who also has a lot of energy, kind of like that first house placement, but also enjoys life. A lot of fun things come to them. Like, love affairs are easy, relationships, friendships, art. This is an artistic person that can really like get out there and express themselves and probably, I would say, make money off of it, really influence people and encourage people and kind of inspire them through art. So you have Jupiter in the fifth house. um you know it makes you creative, it makes you a very fun, and again, it's not with personality, but you have so many good life experiences that it's natural to be, like a happy person or enjoy life when you really know how to deal with things. I'm not saying you don't have shitty things that come your way, but when you know how to deal with it and you know how to like just process things, you can go through things and still be, really happy. And this is kind of a placement for that. They don't hold on to things. This is someone that just really, and I would say probably gets lucky with short-term relationships. I'm not saying like marriage is lucky here, but it's kind of just fun. Like you have a lot of fun. I wouldn't mind having my Jupiter in the fifth house and just living life. This is just that live life sector where if it's in that house, you're just living life. You enjoy it. And I love that. Ugh, my nose is like itching today. I'm so dry here in Utah. I'm from the South, so I'm used to like all the time humidity. And the winter is the worst for me still. And I've been here for like 5 years. So
The allergies are super bad too right now.
yeah, I'm like, sorry. All right. Jupiter in the sixth house. This is, not as lucky energy, but I mean, this is your everyday, day-to-day things that you kind of have luck with. You're very lucky to have a schedule and a structured life, and things just kind of are organized for you and make sense. It's not like a total chaos. I mean, you could have other things in your chart that could cause chaos, but typically this kind of area of your life tends to be very organized. Or if you have Jupiter in the sixth house, things are just very presented to you very like in an organized kind of manner, or structured, very structured. You have probably like your upbringing was very structured. Your job is probably very structured. It's very rare that these people will deal with like a lot of chaos in what they do for a living, because it's that may not stress them out because it really depends on their other planets, but it does help, calm the brain when everything's not chaotic. So good placement in the sense of things come to you very organized, very structured. These people love to work. It brings them joy and happiness. And then they also like to do things for people. Now, if you, some of the challenging points, I was going to go into health with this. So if your Jupiter is in a sign, like if you have a Virgo Jupiter in the sixth house, one of the things you really want to be careful is to watch for health issues, because sometimes it can cause, and I'm not an expert in like astrology and health. There are people that literally look at your birth chart and they're like, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. So this is kind of that area, and I'm just touching on it. There are certain aspects that if your Jupiter like squares certain things, it can cause, especially in the sixth house, it can cause, health issues. So just maybe research that a little bit. If you have a Gemini Jupiter in the sixth house, and you also have maybe a Pisces sun, like, you have these things where those are all, they square each other. So there might be challenges or difficulties through life. So just look at your chart, your whole chart, and if you see that you have Jupiter in the sixth house, just check your if you have health problems, and then maybe you can pinpoint where. And sometimes it can be helpful, like, hey, you need to do this more or do this less. So Gemini and Pisces, I'd say less escapism through substance, more right. And then like someone like Virgo or Capricorn, I would say less work, maybe more relaxation. It just depends on what signs are to give that recommendation.
What would you say for a sixth house Scorpio Jupiter?
Scorpio Jupiter? I would say for, what's the sun?
The sun is Sagittarius.
Okay, so Sagittarius makes it a little easier. Okay, Scorpio and Sag, they don't have an aspect there. I would say if it was like a Taurus sun or a Leo sun, because they square each other, that's where I would recommend like maybe doing something. But a Scorpio Jupiter in the sixth house, I'll go into Scorpio when we get to that one, but I'm thinking if they square other aspects, like if their sun squares, then maybe that's where they should look at health issues.
Yeah, this person particularly has had like I think 16 surgeries as a gymnast. Those surgeries.
Yeah. All right, Jupiter in the 7th house. You have luck through relationships, through partnerships, marriage. This is someone that, probably meets the one young, or if they're not, if they don't want to be young, they meet the one old. But it's a really good placement for somebody who has good relationships. And it doesn't even have to be always romantic. It can be platonic. So if you have this placement, you really your life kind of starts to become what's the word I'm looking for? It's very beneficial for you to get married and to have a family, or not necessarily a family. That's not what I mean. To be married and to be happy in your marriage, because then things will come to you. You'll naturally manifest things and bring things into your life just by being happy. So this one is, it causes good things to come to you once you finally do find a mate or somebody that you really vibe with. It's just like creates more abundance for you through life. Sorry, I should have had more coffee this morning.
I'm on the same boat with you. Don't worry.
I'm like trying, guys. Like last week I was on it. This week I'm like, I'm that.
Yeah, I'm finding it to be very similar.
Well, and
I
when
asked
it's
for a late
quiet.
checkout.
Oh, sorry. What?
Oh, I just asked for a late checkout so I can go take a nap before I hit the road again.
Like I'm gonna need to sleep a little bit. But when it's quiet, it feels so like teachy versus like communicative. And so it's like, I don't know. Sometimes I'm just like, I don't know. I'm gonna put my teacher hat on and I just don't have it.
You got this. I believe in you.
Got it. All right. So the 8th house, this one is all about transformation. So as many times as you go through and transform, you create more abundance, more good luck, more things, more positive things. So if you find Jupiter's in the 8th house and life is always shifting and changing, like flow with that, go with that. Just let it be, because once you start to just vibe with it or flow with it, then it's going to create an abundance in your entire life. It's going to bring more, it's going to bring joy. Um, it's also an area of other people's money. So anytime I see Jupiter in the 8th house, life might be very beneficial from other people's resources, and you just kind of live off of them, and you're taken care of that way, which I think is very fortunate and lucky. So did your friend, is she taken care of? Like, does she have a husband that takes care of her, or a family, or
No.
maybe it's coming,
See what?
I said, maybe it's coming. Maybe.
Fingers crossed. I mean, she can make money out of anything, so.
Yeah. So, and then just changing and transforming. If she's done like a lot of surgery, I'm sure through each one, she has to like gain a different understanding or like confidence. Okay, that one went good. Now I got to do this. This one went bad, but I have to do this different. And this is, it's all part of the transformation, and it's not always easy. I think that it's hard for us as humans to realize like the difficult times, the struggle is what really like builds us and creates character. So, I mean, may not be the luckiest placement, but it does create endurance for sure.
Those are like those ones that are like those hard, darker lessons, and you're like, damn it.
You're like,
So beneficial.
necessary. All right. Now this is like the home spot. So if you have Jupiter in the 9th house, if you have a Sagittarius Jupiter in the 9th house, like, don't talk to me. Actually, I'm curious. Talk to me. Tell me how lucky you've been in life, because this is like the area where it expands. It, travel and fun and education. I think of like kids that grow up in like very prestigious homes and their parents have money and they go to like Ivy League colleges and they do like Europe abroad for a year. And I'm very envious and I'm happy that people have that. I'm not jealous. I love that for you. But I'm just like, you have to have like Jupiter in the 9th house for this to be your life, because like, some of us are just like, I'm just trying to see the state that's like right next to me, maybe like get out the hood a little bit, whatever. But it's these people, they really have just luck. after luck, I mean, education. I'm just kind of looking through your notes here. Like I said, like I just think of kids that are born into families with a lot of wealth, but with comes that, a lot of expectation. I don't think I would like to be, I mean, my parents didn't really have expectations of me. So I think that was kind of nice. But these people, they do have, there's a lot of expectation there, but they do have the opportunities for travel and just like a life of, exploring and learning, and good things come to them. So
I don't have a single person with 9th house Jupiter.
yeah, because they're all at Ivy League colleges traveling
Yeah.
to meet them.
Yeah, I was like, I've never met these people.
Those are definitely not my friends.
Need to.
Yeah.
You're looking for that inheritance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and your inheritance could be someone that you settle down with receives inheritance, therefore you receive it. It could be anything. It could be anything. You never know.
Do you like to have your own bedroom in your own house? Cool. I mean,
perfect. Capricorn in you so hard right there, but
my sleep is sacred.
Oh, yeah. And sleeping and not having to deal with someone else next to you while you're trying to sleep.
Yes.
So Jupiter in the 10th house. This is very lucky in career. You hit like all the good jobs, you come your way, you get promotion after promotion. It's constant luck in the workplace. And so when you have this, you have a lot of ambition. You naturally are an achiever. You are probably very competitive. This is one of those areas where competition is something you thrive on and you do the best. Can be arrogant. I mean, it does tend to happen with Capricorn, Jupiter energy. But I mean, it's not a bad placement. You have luck and you're very strong in your values. That's another thing is, the Capricorns don't, for a cardinal sign, they don't really judge. They're very like set in their ways. And so, especially in like their like core moral beliefs, like they're what they believe in, it's hard to kind of shift them. But I would say you're pretty fortunate for this because, to have a career that you love and to be very successful at it and constantly recognized for being able to achieve things and meeting goals, I think is just something for the soul. It's very rewarding. I mean, it is for me anyway. Some people don't care. But I don't really know anyone that's like, I don't like to recognize that.
My friend is a Taurus Jupiter in the 10th house.
Oh, nice.
With a Taurus sun.
Are they just like climbing like the ladder of whatever they do career-wise?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
I think so anyways, from the outside perspective.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Very fortunate. Oh, I can't hear you.
She's got multiple businesses going on.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you have conjunct Jupiter and your sun, that automatically makes you very lucky. And then to have it in Taurus, which is consistent and very practical, in the 10th house of Capricorn, that's like work, 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 and just so career minded. I would just be shocked if she didn't have,
Yeah.
It's a really good chart placement to have.
Nice. I'm gonna let her know. Sometimes it's nice to be reminded that you are a little lucky.
You're a badass, Your chart is a badass, and now you're that's good.
I think this is Sammy. You can't see your names if you're watching from Facebook.
Yeah, I can tell you. Hold on, give me 2 seconds and I will tell you. Sam, your Jupiter is in Scorpio in the 5th house. So Scorpio, a little heavier, a little more serious, but in the 5th house of fun. I mean, like again, you're probably very artistic, very creative. I feel like when I see this kind of placement, let's see, what is your sun again? Capricorn? Right. So yeah, you don't have any major things here that kind of, aspects that are challenging. I would just say that this is probably, as far as like your luck, maybe not the most lucky because Scorpio tend to, like I said, go through things, transition, like you have to transition and transform through life when you have a Jupiter in Scorpio. It's just things come your way. but in the fifth house does lighten it up a lot. It makes it like, oh, that happened, but you can see the lightness of it and make fun of it and just joke about it. And I'm sure your Capricorn sun probably has some dark humor to like throw in there. So not a not a bad one. The fifth house is a good place to have your Jupiter. Scorpio is a little more challenging, but
Bring all your dark humor to me. I love it.
yes, Julie is here for it.
What did Danny say? She said, Danny here, Cancer Sun, Cancer Jupe's 10th house.
Ooh, look at you. Nurture. Also, Cancer. So again, when your Sun and your Jupiter conjuncts are the same, it brings a luck in the 10th house. Like career-wise, is very. I would say I don't know what you do for work. Is she works with you?
She does body work.
Oh, okay, perfect. I was gonna say
Amazing body work.
very like healing because cancer cancers are healing, so that makes a lot of sense. And in the 10th house, it makes her very successful and only do better and better as she progresses. So
There we go, Danny.
makes sense.
She does. I do my mentorship with Danny.
Love that.
Yeah, she said my career is.
Yes. Yeah. And Cancer is also cardinal. And so it's one of those that I love when I see like a Cancer create a business because they have such good drive that they have intuition and they also have compassion. I've talked about Cancer bosses in the past and how much I love a Cancer boss because not only are they just really good leaders, they're so kind and it's like they care. They truly care. They're not just like, I don't give a shit about your feelings, like leave that shit at the door. They're not those bosses, and that I think the world needs more of that. Jupiter in the 11th house. So this one is very how do I say this? They have a vast group of friends. They are, I would say, the places in life that are going to bring you the most luck are going to be something to do with the community, something to create a humanitarian kind of energy is going to bring you the most prosperity because truly that's what's going to fill your soul. And once you fill your soul, I truly believe that people, and this goes for anyone, once you start fulfilling your dreams or your passions and you start like fueling that fire, it's going to drive you and it's going to create more of an abundance no matter where your Jupiter is because you're manifesting at a different level, you're vibrating at a higher level. And so when you can do that and you're doing the things that you love, you're gonna create and attract more prosperity. And so if you have Jupiter in the 11th house, doing things for your community, doing things humanitarian work with your friends, that would be like a double whammy because 11th house energy loves friendships. Very independent, you don't need to have somebody with you. You enjoy your friends, but you don't need your friends. You're not like a Libra who's like, oh, I gotta always be with somebody. I can't go to the bathroom by myself kind of energy. Not that all Libras are like that, but they normally travel in groups, and it's not because for anything other than they don't like to be alone. And so, and I'm a Libra, I can say that. But yeah, so this is just you're gonna create an abundant life and create more success and attract more abundance through doing things for your community, doing things in your community with your friends, things like that.
That's right. Amanda and Katie are both 11th house Jupiters.
So nice. Do they do a lot for the community?
I think it's like goals. I mean, Katie's out there. All of the unhomed packages that we made, one of our new moon circles, she was the one who passed out probably the most. She like sets them outside. All of the homeless people know her name. They're like, "Is it Miss Katie coming?" It's so cute.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's exactly what I would say. Like they're just very generous, but they also it's like a community thing. Like that's where they thrive. And so or friendships can be a thing. Like sometimes I do see people that community but friends, but they really will benefit doing things for the community and maybe they just haven't unlocked that yet. But
yeah, I think even Amanda, she says I'll DJ for free as long as it's like people who like my vibe and like whatever. She doesn't care about getting paid. Just share it for her. But she was DJ'd for our New Moon Circle, our one of our events.
No, she was at the in Bountiful or North Salt Lake. I don't know where that was, but we did that little cell, the little yard cell. But it was in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
building. Yeah, she was there.
yeah. Both of our yard sales, she volunteered, DJ'd for us, which was nice.
Yeah,
Plus, we get to be around our friends.
yeah, it's good to have. All right. Jupiter in the 12th house. Secrets, sorrow, and self-undoing. It's very dramatic. If you have Jupiter in the 12th house, this one is you're really going to benefit through going inward and really understanding yourself. So, Pisces energy is just, you know, there's so much that they just don't understand themselves. Like no one understands them because they don't really understand themselves. So when you have Jupiter in the 12th house, it has this Pisces energy. Um, your life direction of how you're going to create abundance is going to be in like helping others, healing others, listening to others because, Pisces have this way, 12th house energy has this way of like really tuning in and like listening, but they can listen to your stories and they can literally feel your pain. And so I don't think that's necessarily the greatest thing, but I mean, they're very spiritual and that makes them healers because they can relate. They can be, they really truly feel empathy. So when you have Jupiter in your 12th house, one of the things I would recommend would be to really try to understand yourself. And once you do that, you can create a life by maybe like teaching others or like spiritual healing, different ways, different things will come to you once you unlock your gifts. So a lot of Pisces are aware of their gifts super early. I think it's really rare for them to, find these gifts later because they always know there's something different about them, even as children. Like, oh, there's something different about me. And so when you unlock that and you really dive into that, and your Jupiter's in this place of it's going to create abundance and it's going to be very beneficial for you to understand yourself so you can help others because that will bring you happiness. And then also luck and just different avenues that it might take you with like careers or marriages, relationships, whatever, friendships. So if you have a 12th house Jupiter, really take time to yourself, make sure that you're good internally, and then you can heal others, and that will bring happiness and an abundance to you in a way. Like social work is one of the things on here. Medicine, I definitely agree. Like they're people that really feel people and they will create a better life for themselves and luck will come their way if they're truly living. Again, back to the passion. Live your passion. So definitely some feelers. Jupiter and Mars. So these are the aspects which we're starting to kind of like bring up a little more. When you have Jupiter and Mars, Mars is about action and taking control, and Jupiter is luck. So this gives a person strong willpower, optimism, a positive outlook. Those are things that are, when you trine. So if you have your Mars, look at your Mars and your Jupiter, and if they are the same element, that means they trine each other. That means they will get along. So if you're air, Jupiter, air, Mars, besties. If, Earth, fire, water. If they square each other, they're going to be 90 degrees away from that. So if you're looking at your will and you're like, okay, and another way you can tell this if they square is if they're the same, if they're, cardinal, mutable, or how did I just lose that one? Fixed. Like, So if you're a Scorpio and you're like, I don't really know what my squares are, you need to look at Leo and Aquarius because those are also fixed signs. So they square each other and they aren't as flowy. There's room for understanding and learning. It's not bad. I know a lot of people are like, oh no, so many squares. That just means there's more things that you're gonna have to overcome, and that's great. Like you will overcome it or you don't, but that's where you have to work internally on yourself. And then conjunct is the same. So if your Jupiter and your Mars are the same, energetic, able to make decisions, can be aggressive depending. Like if you have an Aries Mars and an Aries Jupiter, yeah, you're going to be very aggressive. If you have a Libra Mars and a Libra Jupiter, I mean, a Libra Mars or a Cancer Mars, you're probably chilling. There's probably no aggression in your human makeup at all. So, and then, so if your Jupiter conjuncts that, very similar, the energies flow and you're very lucky. Jupiter and Saturn. We all know Saturn is like the tower card for me. I just see it and I'm like, oof.
Yeah, the next 2 weeks are going to be very interesting when we dive into Saturn.
Mhm.
I'm excited
Saturn is
and scared.
Yes. When you see out your chart and you're like, man, I have everything squaring Saturn, you've overcome a lot of things in life, and good for you because you're still here. That's the only way let's describe that. But if your Jupiter and your Saturn are trining, then they flow together. You know, life comes at you. You learn things probably through, you know, a very subtle and easy way. This makes a person patient and persistent. They, you know, financial judgment, sound financial judgment. Yeah, no, I mean, they're kind of they're very consistent and life is just, I don't know, a little easier is the best way I can describe it. If you have a square in this position, they can be very pessimistic. They can lack, and that comes with like so many things happen to them through life that they're just like, oh, this is gonna happen. They just expect the worst because that's what always happens. But the thing is, when you sit in that mindset, everything bad is gonna happen. You are going to attract exactly what you think. And if you're a pessimist, you need to stop that right now. Like, the sky is not always falling. I know things go to shit, but you're going to have to pull yourself out of that mindset because honestly, it's going to keep happening to you over and over. And it's like, I know you're tired of it. You bitch about it all the time, the pessimists out there. I hate when people say, I'm not a pessimist, I'm a realist. Stop. If you say that, if you're saying that to something that you're being very negative about, no, you're being a pessimist because good things can happen. Just saying. I have family that does that, and I hope they're not watching because they know I just called them out. But love you. But no, you know, this is kind of, I'm going to check their charts actually because I guarantee you there's squares
Oh,
there.
I'm looking to the Jupiter.
So I'm like, holds up. But no, so lack of yeah, and again, the people that never feel satisfied. They're like, oh, well, I did eat a full 4-course meal, but you know, I could have had 5. Or, you know, it was okay, it wasn't the best I ever had. It's like, you need to learn how to be really happy with what you have because that kind of energy, again, is going to attract. You're never going to have the best you ever had because you keep thinking, oh, that's not that good. So think about it. Try to change your mindset a little bit. I know this can be very hard because this is something that like constant things are happening to this person, so they constantly feel like the sky is falling, but you have to, only you can change that. So, and then if you have a conjunction, then they really, they flow, they're the same. So your lessons and your luck kind of go hand in hand. It's not as intense. It can make it very ambitious. Single-minded person, ability to achieve through hard work, and sometimes can be disconnected. Yeah, because this can be like I've talked about before, where if you have the same, it can be really good, or sometimes it can like lack some flavor. It's like life's kind of boring in this area. So
When I just looked at everyone that was squared, Jupiter squared Saturn, it made a lot of sense. First, like attitude wise.
It's a lower vibration, and you have to work through that and evolve through that, or you're going to stay there, and it's going to constantly come at you. And
That's a really good way to put it.
Yeah. Raise your vibration and energy.
Very good way to put
it. So originality, leadership, magnetic personality, humanitarian outlet. I see a Jupiter trine Uranus, I'm like, oh, you're so lucky because it's like your imagination and your rebellion comes together with your luck, and it's like you can do. I think mine is I've done a lot of shithead things in my life, and I've been very lucky to like scathe off, like didn't affect me. I've been at parties that I'm like, oh, I should probably leave. Or I get this little inkling where I'm like, or something will happen. I'll be like, oh my gosh, we're going over here. And I'm like, okay, bounce. And then I find out later, like the party got busted. And I'm like, man, I'm glad I left. So, like, like I've just had that kind of luck my entire life. Not gonna lie. I'm not like trying to test the universe or anything, but I've had a lot of luck that way. And I think that this kind of comes with that. When it's square, you're the person that stayed at the party and probably holding the beer bong when the police arrive. That's just your luck. Like, I'm sorry. There's just I would say in this direction of life, it's just, especially in legal matters, it's just not as lucky. And then if they're conjunct, they're the same, they kind of flow, free loving, can be restless, eccentric. I mean, I think that eccentric is probably the best way, because I always think of Uranus as like the most eccentric, it's how you rebel, it's how you are in the outer world. And so I don't know. I like that it says extremely tall or short. Like there's no in the middle. You're either really tall or you're really short. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look into that now.
Yeah, there were some really interesting things when I was like pulling all the data. I was like, okay, this is like specific, really specific. But the part that you mentioned, like I don't have any aspects of Jupiter and Uranus, but my best friend Amanda does. And every time she wants to leave a party, I know it's because something bad's about to happen. Every time.
You're like, I'll go with you. I'm going with
It's like uncanny. It took me like 10 years to figure it out, but I'm like, whenever you leave, tell me.
Yeah.
It saved me a lot of trouble.
Oh, I'm telling you, I've been so lucky. Situations, parties, whatever. I get out right before some shit goes down, and I'm good.
Right before someone knocks on the door.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, every time. All right, Neptune. This makes the person, if they are trining, a kind, humanitarian instinct, strong spiritual concerns, creative, talented, promises financial success. See, I wouldn't have thought the financial success, but I'm gonna have to look into it now. I like that we add different things in, because it's like things that I'm like, I'd have to look into that, because I never really like put that together.
I try to pull from Deborah Silverman and the other book, and then sometimes I'll bring in the other. Well, like as we go deeper into the stuff, I'll bring in other stuff. But sometimes they say almost exactly the same thing, and other times it's just like so different.
You're like, wow, yeah, no, and I like that. So if your Jupiter is in the same element as your Neptune, let us know about your financial success. I'm curious. And then
and then if you want to adopt an astrologer or something.
Yeah. Julie has an inheritance coming to her, so we're gonna need you to step up. Somebody
tell yourself.
Yeah. Who are you? I love it. And if they square, this can cause the person to be too emotional. Self-deception, that's a big one. This is a big one when your Neptune and your Jupiter square each other. You really, self-deception is a big one, because it's hard to imagine in the way your brain thinks and your imagination. With Jupiter in there's like challenging aspects. It's hard to really see yourself for who you are, and hopefully you're good and you just have these little quirks. But it's like, I wonder if serial killers think they're bad. I know that there's like a disconnect in their narcissist or whatever, and I get all that, but like some of them, I wonder if they're like, this is bad, I shouldn't be doing this.
There definitely is, because I mean, obviously, like I'm really into serial killers.
But, yeah, I was like, you really want to touch on this.
Some of them think that they're doing a service because they're only killing bad people, and then some know that they're doing bad things. So some have like turned themselves in, of course, so that they don't hurt more people. So some of them seem to have a conscious in a way.
Yeah, this would be the conscious thing. This is right here. This is where your conscious kind of really derives or doesn't.
And I just happen to have a couple serial killers saved in my chart. So we can look.
Yeah, let's look at the Jupiter Neptune aspects. Curious. And if they conjunct, if your Jupiter and your Neptune conjunct, this can create a sensitive personality, artistic, active fantasy life, 12th house energy for sure, ESP. Yes. And they also love, oh yeah, this is something we don't really talk about is animals. And there's things with fire in animals. I'll kind of go into that one on an episode, but loving concern for animals. This does give like this loving because animals ultimately are innocent, right? Like they can't do anything. They're just animals. So this does tend to bring out like a loving nurturing for I would say babies too, like people and things that can't do for themselves. So it does kind of give that energy when they conjunct, or even when they try each other. So.
Whichever serial killer we did, that was born in San Bernardino on June 26th, they have Jupiter sextiled Neptune.
Interesting.
I don't remember which serial killer that was though.
So there's empathy there, but maybe not enough.
Yeah, I think this might be the one that you did because it was the Cancer Sun, Taurus Moon, Cancer Mercury. I think this is that female.
Yeah.
That you covered.
But hers, I truly believe, and I don't remember what it was in her chart, but I think that hers was more of like she had things in her chart that she was capable of being brainwashed. So I don't, and that's a whole nother thing, right? Like, how does everything line up when you have things that you're so naive that you can be technically, I mean, there's some people that fall into cults or just different things. It's like, how does that affect the rest of the things if they're brainwashed and they're not even thinking how they think? So I say
That
there's
was another part. I was a little bit surprised with Jupiter was talking about how where the aspects hit and where things fall that you could be more susceptible to cults and brainwashing with your Jupiter placements. That kind of took me off guard.
Yeah, it's definitely has the energy because it's very positive, but it's like you can feel like something is positive or right, and it doesn't mean that it is. Like you could feel really good or like, oh, this is gonna, excitement about something, but depending on other placements, it could bring you naive to the fact that it may not be good.
Yeah.
Sacrificing and murdering and all that. I think that in a dream world, Neptune, very dreamy, it can be very dangerous, ultimately. Jupiter and Pluto. So when they get along, when they're trying, they are intellectual and they are organized. They have strong tendency or needed to create beginnings and idealistic. That I would say, and again, Pluto is always one for me that I'm like really diving in and really trying to understand and learn because it's so far out there. But I would say that the events in your life are lucky when they, try each other. That things kind of, like, for instance, 9/11. We all went through that together, right? We all went through it together. There were some people that were more affected by it than others. Say people were affected, obviously, that lived in New York. They were more affected than we were because we lived further away. We weren't experiencing it right there. And it was like location thing, right? So I'm starting to kind of put together Pluto with like the time of everything. And then also like locations with Pluto are such a hot spot. Like you could be affected more just by living there. Now, people that were affected even more so than the people just living there were people that had family there. And then obviously the ones that were actually there that lost their life. So it's kind of like, if you look at Jupiter as far as like a time frame thing and like the location of things, it's very interesting. And that's what I'm trying to put together. So I don't want to say too much on it. When we go through Jupiter, I kind of go through all of it. But when you think of like hurricanes or like natural disasters, it's very traumatic for everyone. We all go through it, but some people, depending on where they are affected more. So, and it's interesting because I'm starting to put like places and things with Pluto on like say something happens to one of your family in Texas, it obviously affects them, but then you're affected a little more than I am because you have connections, to your family. So it's all very interesting. I have like a whole thing for Pluto. I'm excited for it.
Oh,
But
I'm excited.
so that's kind of Jupiter, Pluto, like good aspects. The square ones, obviously, you have more ties to things throughout a generation. If things affect you more, you have to work through things harder because it does draw you connected more to like natural, or not even natural, just events throughout your life that are pretty traumatic. And then if they conjunct, I would say this is one that I'm like, I'd be fine with it being pretty bland because you don't want a lot of life events that are happening to affect you all the time. Because I think that can create fear and can be very, I don't know, it can cause just like a fear of living. And I would hate that. So that's just kind of my on Jupiter and Pluto. But I have a lot for Pluto because I think Pluto to me, just because we don't see it so often, that it's so far out there that it's like there's a lot there that I'm trying to like figure out and correlate. So
I'm excited. I
yes.
think this is Sammy. Yeah.
Massively. Yeah, absolutely. You totally can. Just making sure I understood it. No, we can talk about I do all the moon things. I love the new moons, the full moons, all of the little witchy stuff. Sometimes I have to be careful because like I was telling everyone my spell work is very sloppy and I
I think this is Danny.
100% I love that.
I like that I can like recognize these voices and they're all Facebook users.
Yeah. You're like, I know who this is. I know who this
is. I think. Oh, they were both Danny. I was like half. Hopefully that doesn't determine.
I agree. Pluto is 100% a planet. It's out there.
Yeah. So next week we're doing the first part of Saturn in the signs and the elements.
So if you have gone through a lot of BS in your life and you're like, things always happen to me, tune in because we'll tell you why. And we'll tell you how to deal with them.
Saturn's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the best part too, is like once you learn where Saturn is in your chart and what these harder components are, it's easy to maneuver them because you could just look at them without judgment. And it's a really beautiful, that's the beautiful part about astrology, is like looking at it with a detached perspective, and it just makes it just easier to manage.
Yeah. No, I love it. I'm here for it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, and everyone that's watching, and we will see you guys next Tuesday.
Bye.
Bye.